Hi everyone, hope you're doing well today. So this video will be about branching. Essentially, I just want to give you an explanation of how branching works, how to create a branch, how to switch from one branch to the other, and give you all the tools that you need to be able to use branches on your own. And all these questions will be answered during this video. So let's get into it. All right, so let's begin with a little context, right? Essentially, a branch is just a pointer to a commit. So what that means is that if you create branches, they will have different commit histories depending on when you create them and what commits you push on a certain branch. And the purpose of a branch is to actually have a independent line of development. Let me give you a really simple example. Let's say that you have one main branch and you want to be able to develop a new feature, but you don't want to, play around with the main code that is actually functional because it might create a bug. And so the solution here is to just create a branch that will have the same commit history as your main branch and be able to develop on top of that without affecting the main project. So that's the goal of creating new branches. And it also allows you to collaborate with other people without having multiple people affect the code at the same time. Okay, so let's start coding to give you a better idea of how to actually create a branch and how to switch from one branch to the other. So here I have a project opened up. I call it greetings. The first thing I'm going to do is initialize a Git repository with this command right here. So we initialize the empty Git repository. This is all local. There's nothing remote. For the purposes of this video, I don't think we need to. And the first thing that I'm going to do is show you that if we do git branch, we are going to get nothing. So the reason we get nothing is that there's no branch that has been created yet. So to create a new branch, I'm just going to start creating a file. I'm going to call it hello.py, something really simple. And the first thing that I'm going to do is just print hello world. All right. And save this. And I'm going to add it and commit these changes. So let's say initial setup. All right. Now here we go. We have our commits that have been made right here. And we can now check the branch and it will tell us that we have the main branch that has been created. Now, this is always the case when you start a project, you will have the main or the master branch. It can be either master or main, depending on the context. But here we have main. So we always start with main, and then we can add on new branches depending on what you need to add. So here we have the main branch. Let me show you the commits that we have. We have only one commit, and that's the initial setup that I just made right now. Now, let me add another commit. Okay, let me change this to hello world. This is the program. Just a little difference, nothing crazy, but we are going to add it again and commit it, general greeting. Let's call it general greeting. And here we go. We have another commit. Now, let me check again. Which branch are we on? We are still on main because we don't have any other branches. We didn't create anything else. And if we check the logs for the commits, now we have two commits. So the initial setup and the general greeting. Now let me give you a situation, fictional situation. Let's say this is my code. It's the main code. It's functional. And I want to add a feature. The feature that I want to add is to not only do a general greeting, but also do a user greeting that is specific to the user. So what I would want to do is maybe just change it right away on the main branch and just make a little print, hello user. But that's not what I want to do. The reason why I don't want to do that is that in real life, you might not be able to do this without having any bugs. And that can be very risky for your main branch because it has the actual functional code. So we're going to erase this. So now that we reverted, we're just going to create a new branch. So how do we actually create a new branch? It's very simple. You just create a new branch by saying git branch and the name of the branch. Let us say that the name of the branch will be user greeting because this is the actual context that we want to use. And that is it, guys. If we do git branch, we have two branches now. We have main and user greeting. Now, since we want to make the changes on user greeting, we need to switch from the main branch to the user greeting branch. So to check out to another branch, it's very simple. Use the checkout command and you use the name of the actual branch you want to check out to. And there we go. And if we do git branch right now, you will see that we are finally in the user greeting branch. Now, what happens if we do git log and we check the commits? We have all the commits that the main branch had. Because what happens is that when you're on the main branch and you create a new branch, the new branch will have all the history of the main branch itself, and you will be able to add your code on the commits that you made in the main branch without affecting the main branch. So let me show you how that works. We're actually going to make a change here, and now we are considered in the user greeting branch and not on the main branch anymore. Let me just do what we were going to do before, and let me add that and commit it. All right. Now, if we do git log, we are going to see that we have three commits: the initial setup and the general greeting that we had on the main branch, and the user greeting that we had in the user greeting branch. Okay? Now, let me quit out of this git log and switch back to the main branch. Okay, so if we do git branch, just to check it, we are in the main branch. Okay, so if we do git log, what happens here? We only have two commits. So that means that in the main branch, we still have the two commits that we made, but we don't have the new one that we made on user greeting. So this essentially shows you that when you create a new branch and you add code and you change your things and you do new commits, it will not affect any other branches. So the user greeting branch is completely independent from the main branch, and it will not affect it in any way unless you decide to merge it into the main branch. But this will be for another video because it's a more complex topic. So right here, we have two branches. They're completely independent and they have completely different commit history. Now, as I said, the user greeting has the previous commit history of the main branch. But what happens if I actually add a commit to the main branch? So let's say I want to say, hello world. This is the program for students. Let me just quickly commit this. Changes to hello. Now, if we do git log, you will see the three commits that we had on main, so initial setup, general greeting, and the new one that we just made that changes to hello. What happens if I check out to user greeting? As you can see, the file immediately changed. There is no first students, but there is still the hello user from the user greetings. And if we check the logs, you will see that we still have three commits. So the main branch does not affect the user greeting branch anymore. It only affects it when you actually create the user greeting branch or the new branch that you want to create based off of main. It will have all the history of commit that you had so far. So they're completely independent. And this is how you deal with branches. Also, I want to show you something quick, kind of a shortcut. Let me create a new branch without having to actually create it and then switch to it. We can actually just do it in one shot. So I could just check out with the little B right here. So this says that I want to check out this new branch. So I want to create a new branch, but I also want to switch to it. So I'm going to call it a new feature just for test purposes. And that is it. So if we do git branch, we are immediately on this new branch called new feature, We didn't even have to switch to it. It does it all in one shot. I also want to mention that when you create a new branch, it will inherit from the commit history of the current branch that you're on. So for example, if I switch to main and I check out this new branch called main inherit, it will have all the commits of the main branch as I showed you in the main branch before. But if we check out to a user greeting and then we check out a new branch called user inherit, and then we check the commits, then they will not be the same. As you can see, the last commit is user greeting. So that means if you want to create a new branch based off of main, you have to go on the main branch. There are a few ways to do it, but I feel like this is the most simple way to explain it. So you just check out to the branch you want to create a new branch from, and it will inherit from all the commit history of your current branch into the new branch. And that's it. That's pretty much the basics you need to know about branching. But I also thought that it would be interesting to give you a bit more explanation that is a little bit less abstract to give you a better understanding of what's actually going on. So, as I said before, we always start with the main branch. And this is where we can put all of our commits if we don't have another branch. So let's start with one commit. As we did earlier, we did the initial setup commit. Then we had the second commit, which was the general greeting. Everything is still on main. We have no new branches. And after the second commit, we decided to create the new branch called user greeting. I tried to make it so that it's very easy to understand. And this is how I decided to represent it for you guys to understand it better. Essentially, the reason why we have this little dotted line and not a full line is that add greeting or user greeting is not dependent to main. The only reason why it's kind of linked to the main is because it inherits from the commit history that main had at the moment that you actually create the new branch called add greeting or user greeting. Now, this is the last commit that add greeting will have for main. As we did earlier, we then added new commits to the add greeting branch. We added user greeting, right? And this commit is not present on main. It's only present on add greeting because they're completely independent from each other. We went to the add greeting branch and we decided to add new code to this particular branch, okay? And if we decided to add a new commit on main as I did before, it would also not affect the add greeting. So right now we have the same amount of commits on main and add greeting, but they're not the same. So the first one on main is the initial setup. The second one is the general greeting. And the third one is actually change general greeting. Now for add greeting, they're the same 1 and 2 for main, but the third one is actually different in its user greeting. So even though they have the same amount of commits, they're not the same, right? And it would be exactly the same concept if we decided to add more commits to, let's say, add greeting. We have the number 4 and 5, which would be completely different from the one that are present in main. And this is how branching works. I hope this helped you understand a little bit better how to switch from one branch to another and to understand more deeply how they work. If you have any questions, let me know. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much and have a great day.